Well, joining us now to break down more of this week's Democrat National Convention is former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Sean, welcome to the program. And, call me old-fashioned. I'd like to see a bit of policy at these things, but this convention continues to be pretty much a policy-free zone. There aren't even any policies on the Harris website. But the ones we've heard about, like hiking the capital gains tax, taxing unrealized capital gains, things like that, are spooking a lot of people. Sean, how can the Kamala Harris people claim on the one side that she's going to fix the economy on day one without telling us how, while also setting to double down on everything that created some of the economic disasters we've had for the past 3.5 years?
That's absolutely right. I mean, she's literally the arsonist trying to tell you how she's going to put out the fire and wants credit for it. I mean, the reality is she talks about day one. She was in the White House. Her office is right down from the president's. They talk about being a partnership and a team, and yet she's acting as though she hasn't been there for the 3.5 years that have created these policies. But, it's amazing. It's the website. It's the convention. It's her speeches. It's her lack of interaction. I did my first campaign in the U.S. in 1994, 30 years ago. Now, hopefully I don't look like I did that, but that's just the reality. And I've never seen anything like this in my political career. The idea that you can get away with not talking about what you'll do is absolutely amazing to me. And it's funny because Trump the other day put out some policy. I can't remember what it was, and the immediate press reaction was it lacks, certain amount of detail. And I was like, at least he's talking about policy. Like, you can't get anything out of her. He has a section of his website that literally lists all the things that he'll do. He constantly is talking about different policy proposals and, and solutions that he has to get the country back. And she has nothing.
Well, Sean, it strikes me, though, that the problem the Democrats have is that they're caught in kind of a double bind. The things that their base voters care about are things that are really unpopular with everybody else. Like, we've barely heard about climate change, which you'd think would be a big issue. And I reckon, what do you think? Is this because, they're caught between the Republican voters' desire and mainstream voters' desire for jobs and low energy prices and what the left wants and what their left flank is demanding, which is to cut fossil fuels and carbon emissions?
Yeah, you're explaining the dynamic absolutely right. But here's the thing. The political dynamic is this. Normally, as you know, you'd go through a primary where you'd have to appeal to those voters in the base voters that you referred to. And in doing so, you would have tacked to the left. You would have had to talk about climate change and all the other kind of leftist, crazy, progressive stuff, government intervention, higher taxes, more government spending. But because she pushed Joe Biden out, she didn't have to go through that process. So they've kind of avoided that scrutiny, that appeal to the base. And they right now, I think their goal is to be everything to everyone, right? So let's not talk about policy. If you're from Pennsylvania and you support fracking because it's important for energy and jobs in Pennsylvania, well, I'm for fracking. If you're against it, well, don't worry, I can be against that too. She is on both sides of every single issue. She has flip-flopped on stuff. She's absolutely the phoniest person I've ever seen in politics. She will say and do whatever she has to do. It's funny. She wants to be able to say that she's tough on crime, and then she wants to be able to get anyone who has protested or committed vandalism or violence during the protests out by supporting the Minnesota Freedom Fund. She wants it both ways on every policy. I get it. As somebody who's run campaigns, I'd kill for this. The idea that you are not held accountable and you can say whatever you want, and in some cases, nothing at all, is almost the dream of every political operative. You would say to yourself, there's no way they'll let me get away with this, though.